Hello friends, welcome to Civilspedia. Today we will be seeing a few topics. Under the prelims topics, we will be seeing no confidence motion, Chabahar Port project and census and linguistic composition. Under the mains topic, we will be seeing electronic voting machines and sedition in India. Moving to our first topic, it's no confidence motion. You all know that today a no confidence motion is being adopted in Lok Sabha. So we will see what is a no confidence motion and how it works. So Article 75 in Indian Constitution states that the Council of Ministers enjoys or they have a collective responsibility to the Lok Sabha. This means that for a government to function, it should have the majority support of Lok Sabha. Why we adopt no confidence motion is to know that whether the executive enjoys the confidence of the legislature. If any member of Lok Sabha feels that the party in power does not have the majority, he or she can move a no confidence motion. And if the motion is accepted by the speaker, then the party will have to prove its majority in the house. So how it works, how no confidence motion works, there is a list of procedures to be followed and it is given in Rule 198 in the procedures and conduct rules of Lok Sabha. So under these rules, it is stated that for adopting a no confidence motion, any member of Lok Sabha can move this motion. Also, no confidence motion can be adopted only in Lok Sabha and not in Rajya Sabha. So any member of Lok Sabha can move a no confidence motion against the government, and for this they need not give any particular reason. And now to move this no confidence motion, there should be a minimum of 50 members supporting this motion, and then only it can be admitted. So the member who is planning to move this motion, they should give a written notice before 10 AM to the speaker, and then the speaker will read out this notice in the Lok Sabha, and later if 50 members are supporting it, the speaker can admit it. Once it is admitted, the speaker will announce the date for conducting no confidence motion, and this date should be within 10 days from when the motion was admitted. Now, after the no confidence motion, if the party in the power fails to prove their majority, they will have to resign. As of now, the no confidence motion which is being adopted in Lok Sabha, it is the 27th no confidence motion, and Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister who faced the maximum number of no confidence motion, and she faced 15 no confidence movements. Moving to our next topic. It is the Chabahar Port project. We will see the geographical location of Chabahar Port as well as why it is important for India. So you can see this is the Chabahar Port and its location is in the southeastern part of Iran, that is the Makran coast, and you can see this is the Gulf of Oman and here it is the Strait of Hormuz. So this is the Chabahar Port, this is the Strait of Hormuz and this is the Gulf of Oman. Now, this is the Gadar port. It is a Pakistani port developed by the Chinese authorities. So, this makes development of Chabahar port by India one of the important facts, because we see Chabahar port as a counter to Gadar port, which is developed with Chinese assistance. Now, coming to the why it is of very much interest to India, it's because we can use this port as an easy access to the landlocked country of Afghanistan and other Central Asian nations. The transportation of goods from India to Afghanistan takes little time, and this will reduce the transportation cost as well as time for this transit of goods. Also, Chabahar Port, the Shahid Beheshti port in Chabahar, which we are developing, this can be used to connect to the international north-south transport corridor. You can see this blue line. This shows the international north-south transport corridor route through which we can connect with Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan and other European nations and Russia. This also helps in the trade interest of India. Also, India is building a railway link from Chabahar to Sahedan, which is in the Afghan border, and from there it will be linked to Saranj in Afghanistan. So this helps to bypass Pakistan to connect with Central Asian nations. So this is some of the importance of Chabahar Port with regards to India. Moving to our next topic, it's census and linguistic composition. Recently, there was a news in Hindu regarding the enumeration of languages in census. Before going to that report, we will see a little historical facts about census. You know, it is one of the massive and largest exercise by Government of India. And census provides us a variety of statistical information about the people of India. So, you know, census started in 1872. During the time of Britishers, but at that time this 1872 census was done in an unsynchronized manner, and it was from 1881 that we really started the decennial census program, and the reason one being the 2011 census. So the enumeration of languages in census, it started with 1961 census, and according to this data, it was shown that 1652 languages were included in mother tongues. But if you see 1971 census, this number has reduced to 109. This was because of the adoption of an unscientific logic to calculate the number of mother tongues. And the logic was given that if any language is to be considered as respectful, it should not have less than 10,000 speakers. And still now, we are following the same method. And recently, the 2011 language data was published. And in that, it was seen that a return of 19,569 languages was submitted by the city. Around 18,200 languages were kept aside because of this logic, and the remaining was 1,369, which was grouped as labels. And another set of languages, around 1,474 languages, was also included as mother tongues and kept as others, and their status was not properly defined. Now in this 1,369, it was again grouped into 121 group labels, and they were represented as languages. Of this, 22 languages were included in the constitution. You know, the 8th schedule of the constitution, we have 22 languages, and they are known as the scheduled languages. And the rest 99 is kept as the non-scheduled languages. The problem with this enumeration is that if you see, the grouping itself has a lot of problems. For example, languages like Bhojpuri, which is spoken by around 5 crore people, and which has its own literature, theatre and cinema, has been included in Hindi. So this shows that these people are not given proper representation in the census. You know that the census data is used by educators and policy makers to frame laws affecting those particular groups. So if people like these are not given enough representation, there won't be enough policy measures taken to address their problem. This will affect the linguistic diversity of India. Now, that's all about this. Coming to our next topic, it is electronic voting machine or EVM. You know that initially we used to adopt ballot papers for conducting elections, but it was a very time-consuming method, and the results were announced much later. So we switched to electronic voting machines. And the first electronic voting machine was used in a bypoll in 1982 in North Paravur. It is an assembly constituency in Kerala. But later this election was declared null and void by the court, because at that time in the Representation of People's Act, it was not amended to include EVM as a method of conducting elections. So later this act was amended, and from 2004 we were using electronic voting machines for almost all the elections. Now coming to electronic voting machine, it has two units. The one is the control unit and another is the balloting unit. The control unit is kept with the presiding officer and the balloting unit will be kept in the voting compartment. And it can register a maximum of 3,840 votes and can cater to the needs of maximum 64 candidates. Well, the machine is powered by batteries and therefore it does not have to depend on electricity and ensures continuous voting. Now moving to the benefits of electronic voting machine. It was mainly used to help the casting of votes and counting of votes. So it helps people to register votes electronically and reduces the time of vote counting. So now the results can be announced within a span of few hours. Again, the next benefit, it is like it reduces the cost of production and printing of crores of ballot papers, which helps in reducing the number of trees cut and saves the environment. Another problem addressed by electronic voting machine is it has reduced the invalid votes. Problem of invalid votes have been addressed, and also the problem of bogus votes because it ensures one vote per person. So these are some of the benefits of electronic voting machine. Though there are so many benefits, time and again political parties have been raising concern that the voting machines can be tampered and their votes can be changed to some other parties. Because of this, Election Commission has recently decided to bring VVPATs along with electronic voting machines. So you can see VVPAT is voter verifiable paper audit trail. So here you can see this is the VVPAT. It is attached to the electronic voting machine. And when the voter presses the button of the electronic voting machine, a paper will be printed with the symbol and the name of the candidate. And it can be, then the voter can see the paper from this glass thing for around 7 seconds, and after that it will be dropped into the collection box. So it's an important method now adopted by the Election Commission, and Supreme Court in a PIL, it has asked the Election Commission to adopt this method from 2014 in a phased manner. So in the coming 2019 elections, it is considered that VVPATs will be also adopted along with electronic voting machine. Moving on to our next topic, it is sedition. Sedition in India. So sedition in India has been defined by section 124A of IPC, the Indian Penal Code, and it defines that any form of speech, writing or action which brings or attempts to bring hatred or contempt or excites or attempts to excite disaffection towards the government established by law. So this is called as sedition. So if any kind of speech or any kind of writing or action incites hatred or contempt or disaffection against the government, it can be brought under the offense of sedition. And you see, the disaffection here means the disloyalty and enmity towards the government. So coming to a little history about this section 124A, it was incorporated by the British government back in 1870s. Interestingly, the IPC, the Indian Penal Code, when it was drafted in 1860, this section was not there. If you see, you can say it is 124A. This shows that it was later incorporated through an amendment. So this section was mainly brought to curb the menace of Wahhabi movement. Later, during the freedom struggle and all, many leaders like Gandhiji, Tilak were arrested under the offense of sedition. Coming to the independence time and when constitution was framed, there few members in the Constituent Assembly wanted to include sedition in Article 19 to curb the freedom of speech. But at that time, it was strongly opposed. Now, if you see the first amendment to the Constitution in 1951, public order was included in Article 19. Later, there were many instances when Section 124A was tried to remove from the statute books, but still now it is there inside the books. And you know that in 1960s, the case of Kedarnath. In the Kedarnath case, the Supreme Court, it confirmed the constitutionality of sedition. But at the same time, Supreme Court said that the provision of sedition should not be invoked in every case. It should be invoked only when there is a purposeful incitement of disorder and hatred against the government. So by simply saying slogans or simply criticizing the government should not be brought under sedition. Even though this kind of restrictions are imposed by Supreme Court, many a times our law agencies have incited this section to curb or to silence the people who are criticizing the government and its policies. Now, what is the Supreme Court's opinion in that? We saw this. And finally, what is the way forward? So, since the Supreme Court has already declared that it is constitutionally a valid section, so we cannot ask that it should be completely removed from the statute book. So instead of that, like the Law Commission recommendation, Law Commission has recommended that the punishment, now the punishment for sedition is life imprisonment. Now, Law Commission has recommended that this punishment should be reduced, and also the discretionary power of the law agencies should be reduced. So this much is about sedition. Thank you.